And they're able to go, so that is the umbrella, the first pass. And then the IDC manages it, and in this case, they're going to come in and weigh in, with some economic studies to see which project benefits. the region.
IDEC.
Yeah, Indiana Economic Development, yeah.
So Bill, just so you understand, when that all first began, Brent Balderman, myself were the only two that attended. I mean, now we have the mayors involved, so we're getting more of a voice in what we need. We let it be known that we didn't want to be the stepchild, you know, within this region, and I think they've listened to us. Because I think they have found, even Purdue, they know that they need us, the smaller counties, because where are they gonna develop? They gotta rely on us for housing now,
Workforce.
and we have no workforce.
So, in this particular case, Ready One was not like that because it was our funds, but Ready Two, they will come in and run an economic study and figure out which projects really are the most valuable.
IDEC.
IEDC, correct. And then we'll work together, to determine which ones are. I will say that we have a list already of projects that are ready to go, and we'll keep adding to that list if they come up. So, no one's counted out at this point. It's just a process.
IDEC is, appointed, they're not elected.
It's a private nonprofit, as I understand it, and it's run by the governor.
Well, Lily funds.
The governor is running the project.
Well, I shouldn't say it that way. The governor, leads the agenda, the vision for it. And then it is privately run with the board.
Mitch Daniels started it, and he was the governor. And, yeah, so they wouldn't have to have as much transparency, to get things done between public and private partnerships.
Seems like there's something wrong with that.
Well, we all think that.
Well, we ran into that issue, and that's why we're private nonprofit as well.
So,
The issue is that, for instance, we were helping the city buy buildings downtown Attica for these life issues. And we had to go to a public meeting and tell the public what we paid for one of the buildings while we were still negotiating the next one. And so what happened is the price just started spiraling. And so you get into weird situations like that when you gotta just tell people what front they pay for something.
Are your weekend meetings open to the public?
No, we do have, Jeff Fisher, council, and Brenda Harding from the, commissioners on our board.
And are there any apartments in the plan?
Yes, we have, market rate apartments in Attica. And that's a complicated, discussion that I can't have in public yet because they haven't closed on the building. But they are market rate, and it's by a Lafayette developer. We do have one developer looking at a 9% tax credit product, but no commitment. He just showed up and wanted to do it.
Could you please explain the 9%?
Yeah,
Everyone in Petersburg is convinced that it is Section 8 housing.
yeah, it's not. So, we do not concentrate on Section 8, and I've said this in other meetings too, because we're economic development. So, personally, I understand the issues with that product. And you can argue whether we should be doing it or shouldn't do it, but there are people that need housing, you know, so I can't really argue with that part. But for economic development, we're not focused on that because of course, we want to raise the bar for everyone. And, to do that, we really need market rate. So we're focused on that. 9% is an interesting program. We do not have any in the county. There are only 4 counties in Indiana that don't have it. And it is a federally supported project in that they allow the state to do it. And, the 9% provides a tax credit upfront for a developer to come in and develop in an area that they wouldn't normally be able to afford to do. So it is not subsidized, it's just a structure of financing that allows them to get money up front so that they can come in and, build a product. Now, as a result of building these apartments, the state requires them to tier their rent structure. So they tier it for people earning between 27,000 and 53,000 in Fountain County, and that's based on median income. They can also have market rate. So, it's just a way to incentivize developers to come into, areas that need that sort of product. And then also, after 15 years, they have the ability to either re-up on the program or turn it all into market rate. So it is a short-term, incentivized program. So, you'll hear that a lot. People have kind of twisted that around. We had that in Attica too. And, it makes no sense for economic development to focus on Section 8, just from an economic point of view. But, we do support it if, for instance, community action does that. That's some of the product they turn out, and it is helpful to the community. You just have to be careful on how you do it.
Do you ever do any exit interviews on these people that you say are leaving? Do you have any idea why they leave and where they go?
We haven't done that. It's a good idea, though. We've been at this since last July, so we've got some work to do, but, yeah, we'll work on that. I don't know how to get a hold of the people that are leaving, but we could work on that through Facebook. Good idea. Yeah, that's good topic.
There's a lot of work done in Montgomery County for the young, why they leave, and you know, my daughter is one of them. They go to college and they leave because there's nothing to do, that's the answer.
Yeah.
So while we, when we build homes, like Montgomery County is building a lot of homes, but there are no groceries, there are no restaurants, no bars, nothing for young people to do, so they move on. So I mean, that's the simple and obvious answer, but there's a lot more to it than that, but that's why the young people wants to go out.
But Rod's right, to get the retail, it's the chicken and the egg, to attract the retail. They have formulas that you have to have the housing, I mean, the theory is, if you have the housing infrastructure in place, then your population increases, then the site selectors and people that do retail, then they will look at different communities and it spirals up or it just stays flat.
Yeah, the system's really interesting, and I will say it's a massive push uphill. All the time you're pushing uphill, because the system is set up in a way that if you're successful, then you become more successful, and it just rolls in that direction. If you go the other way, which is where we're currently heading, it's hard to stop it. And so we're really pushing an uphill battle, but I think what's really beneficial to Fountain County is our proximity to Lafayette and Attica, Covington and Danville, and then, Petersburg and Crawfordsville. I mean, that is amazing that we have that kind of, growth around us. And Crawfordsville is doing an amazing job, and Lafayette's just about ready to take off. So I think our future looks bright, but we just gotta get on it.
Another thing on the education side, I'm just going to talk about that in Southeast Mountain. Our student population is reduced drastically. And the money follows the student. So if you're going to we need population to get schools up to where they should be. I was on the school board in 2000, we had 1,400 kids. Now it's down to 1,000. Attic is even worse. So we need population and children to be in those schools, and then because it follows the student, and then you can get more teachers or classes that evolve around different things that instead of just math, science, and English. I mean, that would help a bunch to for housing. So I'm just going on school. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the last thing I would say is that, it's more complex than I ever thought it was. But, you know, for instance, getting new housing in Petersburg is challenging because there isn't a quote grocery store. You wouldn't think that's an issue, but when developers have their list of criteria where they invest next, that becomes an issue. We couldn't get apartments in Attica because there is no track record. So the banks will not lend money to developers to build apartments because there's really no way for them to verify what people are willing or able to pay. Don't think about those things, you know, I mean, of course we got apartments, no, we have houses that are rented by owners. Or we have small apartment buildings that have about 5 units in it and they charge $600 a month, which is not market rate. And then the banks are saying, well, you're telling me you're gonna have an apartment that's $1,000 a month, there's no history of that. So it becomes quite complex, but you know, we're giving it all we got and we've been really lucky. In Attica, we've got some local people that are involved in building housing. In Deersburg, we're working on that as well. Local people make all the difference because they take great pride in their community and they want to contribute. So we're working with local people. And then, you know, Pemmican's on a surge. You know, it helps to have that momentum behind you. And I think if we do anything for the next 3 years, which is the length of our contract, we'll get that started, you know, and then it'll be easier from that point.
Another question.
Yeah, all right.
I was wondering how, if there's been studies on other communities where solar has come in and like taken over so much of the county, how that impacts people leaving that county.
I'm not aware, I do the research, but I'm not aware of
I
that.
think that might be important because we have over 8,000 acres coming into solar. I think that might be a really important factor.
And I will say that, wind turbines are more disruptive in terms of,
Yes.
and they haven't really shown an issue with wind turbines. Now, my parents live in Warren County and, you know, I think if I lived there, I'd have trouble with it, but they put the largest ones that they make, 500 feet. And, they're not within a distance where they get compensated. But when you pull up the house, it looks like the wind turbine's in the,
Yes.
backyard.
Our daughter and son-in-law live in.
And there are 10 of them right there. So, and the red light comes in the window every night, you know, well, my parents just don't care. I don't know, it's not me, but they just don't care. And, they just sold the neighbor's house, and it came in overvalued. So I don't know how to.
And Benton County has your statistics. They've got 11 or 1,200 turbines up there. The assessors tracked it for the 20-something years they've been up there. They've stayed up with everybody else. Their property is not rocked.
I think what happens is, if you're not used to them, they're a bother, right? They're not what you wanted, and et cetera. But if someone new is coming in, like, you know, they understand it when they come through the door, so, I don't have an answer to that.
There's a question. Been waiting patiently.
You brought up some interesting points and I have a question or two, but first to make a comment is you were working to take our county and build it up, like improve it. Have you considered the fact that some people move here because they like the fact that it is a smaller community? I was born and raised in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and every time I go up there, when we drive home, I'm like, I am so glad we chose this area to live in and raise our children. We had 3 children, 2 got married, went to school, got married, and chose to move out of the community because that's where their jobs took them, and that's the life they were looking for. 1 went to school, got married, and chose to stay in this county because that's the area they wanted to live in. Everyone has differences of what they want in their livelihood, in their property, and their home. So we have Crawfordsville, we have Danville, we have Lafayette, we have Indianapolis, we have lots of big communities around us and people want to choose to live in those communities, but maybe some of us are okay and not greatly improving our current community because we like it this way, we like it small town.
No, it's completely fair, and we're not going to change that. I don't have a lifetime left to change that. That would be massive undertaking.
Okay, so that's just a statement. My next question you rose, and it's a definite issue. Petersburg does not have a grocery store. I don't typically do my main shopping locally, but you need to have the access to be able to shop locally. So we're talking about bringing in housing and bringing in apartment buildings. to a community that still doesn't have a grocery store.
Right,
So you have to have that infrastructure in a community before you bring the houses.
it's
And
a
so it's
chicken and
like-
egg. It's a chicken
Yeah,
and
it's
egg
one of
because,
those issues.
if you get more housing, then the grocery store is a lot easier to get, so it's just a,
So,
yeah. And that is the difficulty with the job, to be honest, because, there is really no clear shot. You gotta kind of work it all at the same time and put one takes on. In terms of what you should think about the future of Fountain County, from my perspective, just my perspective, if you start looking at the numbers, there's a study out there from Kelly School of Business and IU and a few other participants that shows Fountain County being 30% less populated by 2050, 2045. That's a significant hit. So it's not just about wanting to live rural, it's about whether you can afford to live rural at that point. And so what we're doing is shoring it up. And believe me, we'll be lucky to shore that up, it's just a lot of work, but we're shoring it up so that your kids and your grandchildren can continue to live the way you want to live. And because it will just fade away. And we've seen examples of that all around us, of communities that have just faded away. Now, obviously, Covington's doing great. And Attica's probably not gonna fade away anytime soon, although 30% of the citizens in Attica are on the federal ballot goal. So, I mean, we have some serious issues, these are not made up issues.
But if we don't continue to grow at a certain level, then our grocery store, you know,
well, yeah.
you know, they may.
And in the same respect, what I perceive being married to a home builder is that most of the housing that has been put in Covington is a good quality home, a better quality home. There could always be better, but then you can't afford it. So you have to really look at when you're adding homes, what is the quality of the home?
So
And that's why the apartment building just raises big flags. When we moved here, I was like, oh my gosh, there's no apartment buildings. This was in 1981, okay? And so we had to rent an old home, like you say, that somebody owned. And that was just a way of life. That's the way this community is. So if we are going to bring in apartment buildings, they need to be the kind of apartment buildings that you want your community to have, not that's going to bring the community down
Absolutely,
or bring
absolutely.
problems. with
So
it.
go on our website, WEGAworks.com, and you can look at the stuff that we're pursuing. And I think you'll like it, it's not, we're not looking at the low stuff. And very careful not to do that, because it doesn't come economically, right? So we want to continue to build so that all the pay scales raise, and people have great housing to live in, and then that builds for the future attraction. It's all about attraction, right? And keeping the people we have, et cetera.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I have a question about the quality, okay, in your representation, you put the rank of income for the housing, it's 14,000 to 64,000, is that still
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
between $14,000 a year and $64,000 a year that's in your comprehensive plan presentation, is that still the income base,
For what?
the house?
Oh, no, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
So he isn't the one that was hired to do the comprehensive plan, yeah.
Okay, it was on page 25 of the comprehensive planning,
Okay.
however, the same paragraph is on page 22 on your head, but it's like in the plan, actual plan itself. That was just a question.
Okay.
We'll look into it, I just didn't know what you were saying.
So you're 9% for.
Oh, okay. It wasn't in there, I don't think.
Just so they have like this, for 27 to 60 year old, people who make that much can live in this house.
So I think your question is that the range of income that will be allowed to be in the
Yeah,
apartments?
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
So you only-
you said 14,000, you said there at Attica as well, 14,000 to 64,000.
Not 14, those are the wrong numbers, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but it's 27,000 to 53,000. That's the range for those apartments in the tiered structure, and then they can have market rate, which is unlimited.
Okay, well, I think there was a lot of confusion on that, because everybody was like $14,000 a year is like.
Yeah, I've never said 14, that's quite low. In fact, 14,000 was poverty.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Any other questions? Is that what you, gonna cover?
I believe so.
I think on the county's behalf, I would just like to say that I 100% agree. I'm not sure that the county, when looking for economic development and to grow the county, I think a huge success to us is to stop the decline. If you could see that become zero baseline, that would be a huge win for us. I don't know that anybody's asking to double the population, although from a financial point, that would be great. It's just almost unreasonable and logical to do that. I know I work for a school corporation that would love to see 50 extra kids, not 500. I don't know anybody has the capacity to handle that much the way we live, but every little bit helps. But the ones leaving, you lose 5 kids, it means a lot. You gain 50, it means, a miracle in some instances. So that's from a county perspective, I think that I would like to say, is a 0%. Not growing, not losing is a win for us. Losing is losing, gaining 1,000 people over the course of 10 years would be significant.
Yeah, the other thing you can point to, and I didn't really know this until that week, but, there is a trend across Indiana and across the US, just the way the demographic shift is happening with, certain demographics, moving on and then a gap essentially, in the population. So we look at ourselves as, we've been pretty steady and there's maybe a little decline, that's how we think of ourselves. Well, the demographics show us that it's gonna do this. And that's everywhere, that's not just here. And so that's why it's really important right now to step in and try to shore up that base because we're gonna experience something in the next 10, 15 years that we didn't expect. So that's really what we're up to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Just an idea of how to get people to come to this county. Why not get rid of county income tax or have something that you hang out there that like they're doing in Florida where they don't have an income tax or whatever. And think about people in Lafayette that work in Lafayette, but they're gonna, it's already hard to find a place in Lafayette. They're gonna be more willing to come out here and live because they've been under the anticipation they're gonna pay less tax. Or let's be nicer to the businesses that wanna come here and have less tax for them. I mean, the small businesses. I mean, Lafayette is struggling to find, housing and buildings and stuff for businesses. So if you want those people to live in South County, why don't you lower the taxes or have no taxes?
So there's another part of that equation that I don't really want to get into because it's gonna cause a whole debate, but from a financial aspect, solar does that. And I know nobody wants to say that, but from a financial aspect, it does. And I don't control the financials, the county council does. They're the ones that handle that. They see it also that's a huge benefit because if you look at our income, if you look at our expenses for the county, we're in a struggling situation also.
Hang on. Over a year of money saved.
I understand that. I understand. But if something doesn't change and we had just sent through some financial planning, even if we didn't bring solar in, just forget it, everything got trashed, not a thing goes in, we run out of money. Regardless, the only way to compensate that is to raise your taxes. If something doesn't change in our county, your taxes have to keep going up just to sustain everything that it has. And that's not doing anything extra. That's not paving all these beautiful roads. That is just maintaining the level that you have. Those taxes have to go up because the money's just not there. It does look great in a checking account right now in this particular moment, but over the next 10, 15 years, it doesn't look good. Something has to change. And I think that's what we are all sitting here today. 6 years, yeah.
Jason Sandler said.
Something has to change, and I know, I feel you, I get your passion on this solar. And I'm not saying it's cure all, fix all, I'm not saying that. I'm saying from a financial point, it helps. It helps alleviate some stress, a lot of stress, based on the taxes. And I don't care what argument you wanna have over the abatement or no abatement. I think it's pretty clear that they've made, at least two companies have made it clear, one already has it, so it doesn't matter, the other one, they would still pursue the project with or without the abatement. That's not our fault to make, that's the council's fault to make, they have to look at that, but those tax revenues from that assessed value helps substantially.
But you're not solving the problem for people coming to the county. You might make it worse, because like the country charm, and think, we'll talk about the reasons people want to live in this county. So I lived in California for a tiny little bit, right?
Sure.
I don't like to live in a big city. I enjoyed parts of California. I always thought, wouldn't it be great to live like just outside of California? And this, you know, where I don't look at people all the time, I didn't go into town when I want to.
Yeah.
There are people who would like to do that here. Like you got Lafayette is big, right? So people will live here and then when they wanna go to a bar or whatever, they'll drive to Lafayette. So, but you know, you get rid of some of that country charm and then all of a sudden we're just a big industrial park of like glass and whatever, and you're driving through here. I mean, driving on 28, I mean, I don't know how many people just pay attention to like that when you're coming from Lafayette to Attica. It is like storybook. You got the rolling hills, you've got some of those like that, the nice, whatever, the grain bins, the property, whatever. That is gonna be gone. They're gonna tear it up with bulldozers and then they're gonna, you know, put all these. And even if that's like, I'm saying, if we're trying to bring people to this county, there's gotta be other more sustainable ways. I mean, and I don't understand the finances, but if you have a year in reserve and you just need more people, then why not lower? I mean, clearly you don't need it if you got. I mean, how many people here have a year's worth of stuff in reserve for their expenses? Like, I mean, that you're super healthy, which is great, like, you need to manage money well, right? We appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that 1 year is gonna be gone in a blink of an eye here, because as a former auditor, when I came in 2013, we were spending more than we were bringing in county general. So we went several years, then when they introduced Lowit, lit, that helped the reserves that you're talking about. But we have a cushion there. If we have a catastrophe, we have some funds that we can go to where we don't have to go and borrow the money. We don't have to raise your taxes substantially. You know, we have a little bit there. Is it huge? No, but it is huge to a lot of people. But, and I know Colleen, she was auditor before I was 2013, and she's auditor now. She could explain the trend that she sees, you know, through the years. Well, I feel like if you continue to raise taxes, people are going to continue.
Well, I don't know that raising taxes is what we want to do. That's why everybody's trying to figure out a way not to do that. I 100% agree.
Tim?
Two things, yeah, you're exactly right. On taxes, Tiffany County, I love Douglas.
They're lower tax rate than we are. Taxes in Tiffany County is less than. But they got a lot of factories and everything. They have a lot of infrastructure.
My property tax bill up in Lafayette for a 3-bedroom house, 1,500 square feet, it's over $3,400 a year. Now, my house in Attica, 3-bedroom, 1,200 square feet, I pay less than $400.
I'm talking about, income tax.
But property tax is a big thing. But the point I want to bring up here is.
The council and we look at the lit, local income tax. And so there are certain, departments that are funded that out of lit. You have public safety, which, you know, when the county, introduced that, a lot of that's divvied up between the other cities, towns, and, schools get that. So. You gotta get from both the local income tax and property tax to make it work, make your budgets work. And I know some will say unless you've worked in a department, you can't understand what they need to function. Everybody wants to have a nice ambulance service. There's a price tag that comes with it. That budget used to be under $1 million. It's now doubled. We're having to offer more ambulances. They're not cheap. I mean, those are some of the things that we look at every day. Pardon me?
No,
People aren't cheap either.
No. So if you wanna keep the good employees.
and that's not a bad thing. We should be paying them a healthy wage. That's not the issue. It's just.
Because if they're
that
doing their job, we're not getting the phone calls that things aren't getting done in the counties.
That's-
As a perfect no.
The other point I wanted to say is that Fountain County for the longest period did not change. We were stagnant. Stagnant. Nothing, there was no changes, no improvements. I remember when I first moved down here, working on the ambulance, we made backboards out of green plywood, and we went to cars, towing, and we went to Beatles, cut out seatbelts. Did that up to probably 2009, 2010. But there was no change, we were stagnant, and basic principle, if you're stagnant, you're gonna fall behind. And this county fell behind. And I will say this, I don't agree with everything they decided, I don't. But in the last 4 years, we've made some changes, and we're progressing, because if we don't, we're gonna disappear. I mean, look what Covington has done. Well, I mean, yeah, it's just leaps and bounds. Yeah. And, you know, I moved down from Lafayette. Because I don't want to pay the property taxes anymore. But, you know, there's gotta be some change. What that change is, I don't know, but just like she was saying about the ambulances. One ambulance now costs over $300,000.
Takes years to do.
Yeah.
It's literally years.
Years, we're still waiting.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna have 3 new ambulances because they need them. So what do? You say, okay, well, we're gonna cut back ambulance service. Because, you know, when I moved down here, we tried to get ALS. Nope, we don't want paramedics in this county. Don't want it. Nope. There's only 3 counties in the state, didn't have it. And it took quite a few years to change. So,
Well, and it doesn't stop there either. It's all these volunteer firefighters. We're having to, now it's getting brought to our attention, we may have to have full-time firefighters. So that's gonna cost the county more money, right?
I just wanted to say, due to your question about taxes is, there's at least one gubernatorial candidate that is against dropping the Indiana income tax. To put us on a level playing field with Florida, Tennessee, Texas, and the others. You've always gotta replace that with something though, so what are we gonna replace it? That's like county taxes, I think it would pay for the jail. And I think the jail will be paid off ahead of time. I think we really even noticed, what coming out of, you know, our pay, so I think, you know, county taxes, we're gonna have to have them because. So.
Carol?
Aren't we seeing a lot of Illinois people move into our area?
Probably this part of the county. I don't know, Bragg, maybe it's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably at least 20, 30 families in the last 3 years.
It's so high.
Yeah. We need to help the people get out of the People's Republic of Illinois. Yeah. People want to move here.
You need to be advertising.
And Montgomery County, Montgomery County has 1,000 to 1,500 jobs coming in the next year and a half, 2 years with Nucor and Timber Sealing. So there's gonna be even more that need housing, and this is Montgomery County is in the region, in the Lafayette region that we are in. So that is a big focus.
Okay.
Also, before we get off the topic, we have over $30 million worth of projects coming to this county. This courthouse is one of them. New County Highway Garage finished the annex that you bought. It's just been years of putting it off. This courthouse will be 100 years old in 2037. Still has the original water lines. They've got asbestos all over it. This courthouse needs renovated. And these walls, all the outside walls are all cracking. Ask these girls that work in these rooms, or these buildings. those windows are junk, the roof's junk. It has to be done. For years, people's councils, you know, commissioners have just, oh, we'll put a Band-Aid on this, we'll put a Band-Aid on that. But the time for the Band-Aids is over. The county highway garage, it is literally falling in. You can't even, the diesel fumes over the years have just rotted everything in it. So there's a lot of stuff happening in this county that's gotta move. And we are only trying to do the best that we possibly can for the entire county. And yeah, you might not like our decisions, and that's your prerogative to vote us out. You sure can. But just be known, we are trying the best that we know how. And these solar panels, like them or not, they will put hundreds of millions of dollars worth of taxes on the books when the abatements were out, that you will not have to be paying out of your own pocket. And you will be paying dear, not you, maybe your grandkids, your kids will be paying dearly to live in Fountain in 30 years.
So you're saying if solar doesn't come in, we're gonna be taxed like super high, courthouse is not gonna be able to be fixed.
That's how things get skewed. I don't know that anybody's saying that. It's a possibility. But no one's saying if it doesn't come, it's 100% you're gonna get taxed high. I don't wanna make that clear, but it is a possibility, yes, it is a possibility to look at it that way.
And saying you can't afford to renovate the courthouse right now.
No, I'm saying they put it off for years, they shouldn't. Well, they should have done it 10 years,
No,
15 years ago.
There's not a project that decides, there's not a project, a solar project that decides whether this gets renovated or not, this still has to be renovated.
So basically what we're saying here is that if solar comes or it doesn't, these projects are still gonna happen. We're still gonna be able to fix our courthouse. We're still gonna be able to do these things.
Well, hopefully without borrowing money, hopefully, or they got to borrow money.
I will say in the last 4 years, we've tried to implement a master plan, which we didn't have because it was thought that department heads should be able to tell the commissioners when they needed a new roof or whatever. That is not their job as a department head. Their job is to run their department. So we've implemented master plan. We're working on updating our comprehensive plan so that we will show favor in getting some grants to the county, because by not having some of those things in place, they just look past us. And other people have been getting tax dollars that is really ours. So we're not going after those dollars, they're gonna go somewhere else. So why not get back, to the county what we put into? So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, well, I guess it bothers me when we present it like, if we don't bring solar to the county, we're finished.
No,
Our county's gonna.
I don't think any of us have said that.
That's
None of
what
us-
I just heard.
None of us have said that. We know that we have a problem, and I think the current council and commissioners have addressed that, and what can we do to move Fountain County forward? And that's what we're trying to do. And I know we've made some unpopular decisions, and we're going to, because we're gonna have to weigh what can we live with and what can we not, because we need this for Fountain County.
But when you say we, you mean Fountain County,
Not me,
I know,
not we. I'm talking we, everyone.
So why wasn't everyone included in these decisions way back?
Okay, you made your comment about.
Hang on, I wanna answer something, Beth, because I sold a house well before I was commissioner because of solar.
So how did you hear about it? How do you know?
I had pamphlets show up, I was not a commissioner, I said no to them for months, I didn't. Back in 2018, maybe. But well before, these conversations have been happening for years. The ordinance was in place before, I never signed any ordinance, they have been in place for years. When did you move into the county?
Like 2017 or something?
Okay, so
But
they,
you did sign the solar ordinance, your name is on there. You and Tim signed the solar, like
2021.
the solar amendment.
okay, an amendment, maybe,
The amendment.
wait,
It wasn't a solar ordinance before that.
yes, there was, yes, there was.
Then what did it say?
The amendment was a particular farm that wanted a setback with two conjoining farms, that was the only thing that was amended in that.
So
But
everything else was the same.
everything was,
And the administrator taking care of all.
Oh, an administrator, yeah, administrator said us, but yes, the ordinance that set that had a different setback on two conjoining farms was in place well before that. Before my time, I never signed that. She never signed it, she was not a commissioner, okay? I'm telling you, I was getting pamphlets in the mail saying I was surrounded by the same property owner on four sides of my house. I put it for sale, that's it, I was not a commissioner, didn't even have any idea of being run for there.
So I guess what I don't understand is like, when we got the pamphlet that most people heard about, it was September, and it looked like junk mail. And it didn't say anything about here's a map, or here's anything, it just said, hey, come to the high school and learn about solar in your area. When I saw that pamphlet, I thought, oh, it's just another solar company wanting to sell solar to people to put on their houses or to do things like that. It never occurred to me that this was a huge countywide plan. And it could have been presented much better, and that was September, that was way after the fact that you got a chance to sell your property. And now everyone's telling us, nothing can be done, it's final.
But the problem that I have is you have made it clear that it's an underline that, I'm the one having these closed door meetings. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody. These plans were done well beyond me. What you took into your own consideration with your mail, I can't
That's
determine
September,
that.
that was still way too after the
September of what, 2020?
2023.
That's what I'm saying though, like, these things have been around since 2018.
Then how many people in this room knew about these things in 2018?
But I can't, but
How
yeah,
did you
like,
know? How do you know?
I don't know I can't help what you read and don't read, I'm just saying what I knew well before I was commissioner from a private citizen.
Oh, who told you?
I'm telling you, I got a pamphlet in the mail that said there's solar, here's a projected site, that you are part of this right next to your property.
The reason you probably didn't get one, you're not near a solar, you're not near.
The original map that we were.
I can't answer that, I don't work for solar.
And I went and talked to a lot of people I looked at the map when I saw it, and I said, this isn't right. And I drove around to the people who were surrounded by solar, and I went to their house, and I didn't even know these people, and I said, have you seen this map? And they said, no, I've never seen this map.
Yeah,
So how did that happen?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
We didn't send out.
So the county doesn't go out and seek these people, they seek the farmers, they seek the land contracts, before we even know the company's name, they already have contracts in place. As much as I would love to say that there's all these meetings and we know all these little secret plans, there's not.
Okay,
We didn't.
that's fine, you may not be able to do it, but what you could do is adjust those ordinances. But this doesn't happen.
Okay.
That is.
Great comment, and that is a possibility. I would say whatever those recommendations that you have, you put on paper, we go to a plan commission and present them. They would be the ones that would go through those, and if they would recommend to change them, then they would recommend it back to the commissioners and say, here's our change. I'm not saying for a second that our ordinance is 100% great, and it's just perfect, and it's a stamp that no one should ever look at. That's not at all what I'm saying.
I've talked to every plan, and they said that they're not gonna waste their time doing it because the commissioners are not going to vote it in. And Tim has said the same thing. He's not gonna waste area plan's time having them redo the commissioners
Okay.
because the commission, redo the plan, the ordinance, because if you see like the problem, the frustration,
I see your frustration, 100%. I do.
so what do you suggest?
What he just told you about putting your,
I would
thoughts, what your recommendation and presenting to the planning commission, Carol?
Has any analysis ever been done as to how many of these solar farms do we need to get the objectives made? I mean,
I don't know that there's any county objective involved. It's a state / the energy company's objective, not any individual county.
right now, we have 4 product companies coming into Fountain County.
For what?
For solar companies
Okay.
contacting landowners.
Okay.
And why do we need 4 of them?
They want,
That,
they want to come in.
They want to come in.
When-
When you talk about
The
subsidies and
commission
everything, yeah, when you talk about subsidy, it's not just solar of getting these companies. Farmers get subsidies all the time. Airlines companies get subsidies, so you know, it's never ending, is it not, Bill? The subsidies that, okay, I know you're an architect. I can call your son, yes.
Brenda, I just want to say, I've been a commissioner for INPA, where Petersburg buys their power from, and County buys theirs, and Wayne County, Darlington, and Crawfordsville. And we have almost 200 megawatts of solar. The ones across the solar panels at Crawfordsville on both sides of 74 as you're going, you know, through Crawfordsville is an INPA project. One just outside of Wayne Town is with INPA. There'll be one in Petersburg on the other side of 41. And we do this to offset carbon credits. We have coal-fired plants as well. And coal-fired is always gonna be the least expensive. And we're never gonna gain on climate change or any of this that they're hyping, because China is putting coal-fired plants in every month. So, you know, that's just something that's not gonna happen. But there's a lot of solar around and it happens, you know.
The ones that Brad mentioned are small potatoes of what is gonna be coming in here. The ones in Peters, or Crawfordsville, Waynestown's nothing. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of acres covered with them, and they have every right to do that. Every owner has every right to do what they want with their piece of ground. So, there's really nothing that, an individual cannot dictate to an owner what he should do with his ground.
They did.
He can complain, you can complain all you want.
They control, in that ordinance, they control the company, not the landowner.
Well, so if that means you have the power to control how much solar comes here by not making it so easy. Maybe you should make it easy for wind then. I mean, why are we picking like who gets to come and go? I mean, we should have to choose between breaking your arm and saying solar is better than wind. I mean, you're still telling farmers what they can do with their land. So I don't like.
Yeah, I didn't, no, I didn't.
Okay, can you put wind on your farm right now?
Yes, you could, yes, you could.
I can put, I wanna put a wind turbine up behind my shed, I'll do it. But it'll be for me.
That's different, the wind
No,
company
it's
can't,
not.
okay, so this is.
Yes, again. They just have to buy by
I'm sorry.
ordinance. They just have to buy by ordinance. They can.
Okay, so then let's make a more robust ordinance for solar, so that we don't have this uncontrollable descending of solar panels onto our county.
That's a different conversation for a plan commission to go through, but yeah, yes, I'm not gonna keep dwelling on the same topic. I hear you, but it needs to be addressed, and if they feel willing to change it, then it gets presented back to us.
So, okay, there's Brent, one more comment.
Just to try to understand what's being discussed here, do we currently have it that there is an unlimited amount of solar that could potentially come to our community? And what we're looking to do is possibly request that there be some kind of a cap put on it, that only a certain percentage of the land could be allowed to have solar, so that it wouldn't just fill every vacant area because it's unlimited. Is that what we're proposing here?
So-
Is that what you're recommending we do?
I think from a logical aspect, that's what I hear. That's not been presented that I know of. Like, this is what we recommend. We changed. At the moment, yes, there is no cap. If a solar company wanted to cover every single acre and it was feasible to do that, theoretically, they could. Untheoretically, I don't know that they would be capable of handling that much power. That's a whole nother conversation, but theoretically, yes, there's no cap at the moment.
Right, but for the fact that you say bringing some solar here can help us in our economic
Right,
situation to bring in some revenue. But to keep that at a certain controlled amount could be a
Right.
win-win for everybody except the person whose property might be bordering a really big solar.
sure.
solar,
I don't disagree with that comment myself. I don't know the logistics or what any other language looks like to put caps on that. I'm sure you can do how, if you want, I'm not an attorney also for that. But yeah, I don't disagree.
And what they're saying about the revenue, from a property tax perspective, and I'm not placing any value on this, it's great for the farmers, but agricultural, the legislature, changed back up further. Indiana's property tax system is the most complicated system of pulleys, levers, and presses that you can imagine. And you have circuit breaker, and I've studied it for years, and I can't sit here in 30 seconds or less and explain what circuit breaker is and how it affects local governments providing all the services. But bigger picture, the agricultural land is assessed at a much lower value, and that's great for farmers. Then solar is a commercial use, so it's taxed higher, so it generates more property tax for the community, and that's you talk about property taxes in Lafayette and all the economic development in Montgomery County. When the commercial tax base increases, then the residential burden is lower, because under our very complicated property tax system, commercially assessed property pays more than residential. And it changes the equation. So that's one of the reasons that solar in a county or solar in municipal territory affects the local tax rate, because it's assessed as commercial property, not agricultural. It takes however large the solar development is, all of that then becomes where what would have been assessed at a much lower rate as agricultural, then becomes assessed and taxed at a commercial rate.
So the
That affects
farmers will
everybody's
pay a higher tax rate on the ground that they have?
No, the solar company pays higher rate. Solar company then pays it.
So how about could it be zoned to agricultural if it's commercial?
Those are I understand what you're saying, there's all kinds of, I'm sorry, they're talking, that's zoning speed. So agricultural is just a zoning class, and I don't know that the title really means.
A tractor dealership's a corporation, gets accepted in agriculture, it will be taxed as a company, commercial. So that's the clearest way to explain
The
it.
property tax lingo and the zoning lingo are different. I hate it. I mean, it's hard to talk about because they're all different terms, similar terms and much different meanings between taxes and zoning.
okay. That being said, you guys have anything else
Alright,
otherwise?
we have Jason left, so sheriff was back there, he probably left.
Jason just shared with me, he's working on the, grade nearby, they're in place,
Okay,
with USG. And, he has to run a sprinkler underneath the bridge. So, well, I think before 136 get flat tops way from the tops. Well, he's got to run a sprinkler and anyone talking about the cost of it, one of the things he didn't do.
okay,
So that's now, yeah, everything he says.
okay.
Did he need any motion? Okay.
Okay, all right.
Sheriff back there still? I saw them in the reflection, but I see them. Is Jenny, Eric back there? No. Patty?
But you know what, I got a couple of things.
Well, let's hear it.
County clerk, elections are coming up. With that being said, last year, Secretary of State Morales, in his first 6 months in office, visited all 92 counties. And he let us know that there were $2 million in HAVA grants, which is Help America Vote Act. And, so I applied, back in November, and I really undershot my mark because I went with $3,070.72 and was awarded that grant. Where there are counties that got thousands and thousands of dollars. And so anyway, I got my grant and it's already spent, and you all see that at the polling place if you go vote. I bought feather flags to mark the voting centers. and some things that there will be reading materials right there at the door, so when you go in, be sure and look at them. But with that being said, some of the counties, and I almost did this, and the reason why I didn't was because I didn't know how I would sustain it beyond the 2 years. But to address this woman's comment earlier about needing a better way to communicate, because we don't have a paper, and that was a part of my grant. We are in a rural county that we have no way to communicate to our people, and so we just recently started a Facebook page, so anybody on Facebook, follow us for the Fountain County voter registration and elections. And we are trying to be very transparent with what's going on with our elections and our voter registration. But there are companies out there, and I have been approached. Is everybody, show of hands, this is the interactive part of this. If you have a telephone with you today, raise your hand. So there are companies out there that provide programs or apps that gives us a way to communicate to our county residents and for them to communicate with the county government. And so it might be something, I know, emergency management has something similar to that, but several county clerks have gotten on board, with doing it for their elections. And like I said, I could have done it with Grant if I asked for more, because everybody that asked got what they asked for. And so, but I didn't know how I would sustain that past few years. And if you get a program like this, then, and you can't sustain it, then, you know, everybody gets used to it. Oh, man, that's really good. Well, then guess what? I'm coming back to you guys saying, hey, you give me $20,000 to, you know, keep this going. So, something for you guys to maybe think about is looking into something where county residents can interact. Because
I know that.
everybody has a problem.
You know, school corporations, we use, I don't know what system they use, but, you know, we push out all kinds of stuff. The parents need to push things out, the administrator can push things out. It's a really handy
Yeah.
scenario just to keep
And having
everybody.
the city council just approved getting that
Yeah.
out of the city of Attica.
Yeah,
And that cost was like $3,700 a year.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah,
And say after 2 years, you don't want it anymore, you're not bound to the contract for
Yeah.
a year.
yeah.
I think it'd be a good thing to pursue.
So with that, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Anybody else? Council, yep, Roger.
Landfill. We met with item at the landfill. We did an inspection. Everything looks good. There's a couple of areas that are having breaches from landfill gas. We have to do repairs on them. They're already in the budget for maintenance. I just want to let you guys know that we're probably gonna get a bill about because he did the cap and do some maintenance on that. Just want to give you a heads up on that. It should be a small amount, dollar amount, not worthy of sending out, you know, or,
Sure.
okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol.
Where are we with the grinder? At the jail?
Well, yes, we sent the bids out because the first time we bid them out, we had one bidder and it was not usable. Didn't kind of drive with the cost of what the engineer had. So we bid that project out. We just had last week, we had the site visit and we were waiting for them to come in. So yeah, there's still a lot on that. We have to do that.
And those are the 18th, right? March 18th, you take them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
March 18th.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, are we there? Anybody else? Yeah. I'll make a motion. to close. That's all good. Yes. Yes, I'm kidding.